Hey guys, one more round here. Um, so this episode, yeah, we've gotten all the skills pretty much. Um, we can go to the stored experience section. There's two more, but they're both you can only get them in a quest. And then I'm about to get elementalism and destruction from the Merc, and then we shadow magic is from the Proving Grounds 5. So as you can see, we're almost fortified up here. So this episode is about the Merc. And so that is done from trying to think Southwest Tisa for sure. Stormfield, that's what. So the Merc's from Stormfield, so we're gonna head in that direction. We've gotten some amazing weapons and armor nowadays. All magical armor. Two things around my neck, one thing on my wrist, and then 4 rings, tabards, pendants. Like, okay. So we're ready. Let's hit Stormfield. Here I am. The town of Stormfield sits on the edge of the vast area of swampland known throughout the local area as the Merc. Although irrigation from the swamp provides the township farmers with an abundance of fertile farmland, the mire is a place of great peril that is avoided by nearly everyone. At first glance, Stormfield appears to be a town in a good deal of distress. Many of its shops are closed, and few people are out and about. The town's marketplace is deserted. Now and again, you pass small groups of armed men patrolling the town streets. Their equipment is of poor quality, which leads you to believe that the men are most likely armed citizens and not any sort of organized militia. Good thing we came. These guys are in dire straits. Alright. Let's stop and see what's going on. What's up, you guys? Murkmen, so one of the men in the armed party passing by. All about these parts of late. Isn't the streets safe in the town anymore? Safer under the high sun. You best not be caught outdoors after sunset. There's been a dozen attacks in last week alone. You pressed him for information about Murkmen, of which he spoke. They've always been in this infernal mile over there in the edge of town, he says, roughly indicating the south with a wave of his hand. It's known as the Murk around these parts, but as of late they pressed the boundary sea, and it's not just one or two. These monsters are roaming about in bands of 4 or 5, sometimes more. And don't think we haven't asked for help from our good king, growls another man who carries a broad axe over his meaty shoulder. Lots of good that did us. Up until Linus, they must be convinced we're a bunch of loons down here squawking old fables of madmen who creep out of the swamp at night and prey on folks. I less than half believe it myself. I hadn't seen them with my own eyes. Alright, let's check out Murkmen. Over the years, many residents of the town of Stormfield have reported seeing strange humanoid creatures in the edge of the nearby swamp known as the Murk. According to all accounts, these Murkmen appear to be vaguely human in shape, but are made entirely of mud and muck. A few locals even said that they were attacked and chased by these horrific creatures. The Murkmen, as these creatures have become to be called, are one of the main reasons there are few who dare to venture into the swamp. And let's see about the Merc. The Merc is the name of the residents the residents of Stormfield have given the large swamp that borders the town. Many legends surround the quagmire, but none are more famous than the Murkmen. The rumor that the ancient temple hidden in the heart of the swamp is full of valuable treasures have enticed many to enter the swamp over the years, although they all either abandoned their searches or simply never returned from the tangled maze-like mire. So there you have it, Murkmen. It reminds me of Goosebumps, that one where he's made of mud. I don't remember what it was called, but Murkmen, probably from other creature from the Black Lagoon or something. So let's go. The men further explained that Tow's militia was nearly wiped out in a brutal confrontation with over a dozen Murkmen 2 weeks ago. Since that time, the men of town have formed patrol groups that sweep through the streets around the borders of Stormfield day and night. It is the only thing right now that prevents the whole town from closing up, said the third man. I don't know where you're headed, stranger, but while you're in Stormfield, I make sure to stay inside at night. As men begin to move off, the first man who spoke with turns and says something that piques your interest. He tells you that Stormfield Town Magistrate is seeking to hear from anyone who's willing to journey into the Murk and stop the menace of the Murkmen at its source. You might call on him in town hall if you're so inclined, he says. You bid the men farewell as they move off to continue their patrol. The town of Stormfield sits on the edge of a vast area of swampland known throughout the local area as the Murk, although irrigation from the swamp... Oh, we read this. We read this already, so let's go to the town magistrate. The town magistrate of Stormfield is a thin, grey-haired man with a short-cropped beard and small, shrewd eyes. You note that a long sword hangs from his belt, although, judging by his overall physical condition, you conclude the weapon must merely serve as a decorative purpose. Welcome to Stormfield, stranger, he says. I wish you will arrive better times, though. Sure. That wretched swamp will be the end of us, no doubt, sneers the magistrate. The Murk is what we call it around here. If you heard half of the ghostly things that I've heard tell Call about the ooze and muck, you wouldn't think any town, even a great walled city, could survive being so close to such an abomination. The magistrate tells you that the Stormfield has recently been under the almost nightly assault from strange beings that dwell within the Murk. Murkmen, that's what we call them, he says. Haven't the slightest idea what they are, how they came to be, but they creep out of the infernal bog seeking victims from our township. He tells you that the Murkmen have always been part of Stormfield's local folklore, and that over years a few of the town's residents have reported seeing them now and again. The sightings became more frequent over the past year until at last Murkmen began attacking residents and travelers in the vicinity of Stormfield. We can't continue to live like this, says the magistrate. We're a town of farmers after all, not soldiers. We'll do our best, but I fear we have not the strength to repel these incursions for much longer. The magistrate studies you carefully and then says, So what brings you to see me, stranger? Yeah, I'm here to go to the Murk. My name's Allison. I'm about that game. You introduce yourself to the magistrate and offer to venture into the Murk and put an end to the menace. I'll put an end to that menace of the Murkmen. The magistrate is overjoyed upon hearing your offer and hastily initiates a shoulder stroke across with you. His joy quickly subsides, however, and is replaced by much more sober demeanor. It's a dangerous place without question, he says. Made all the more so because we simply do not know what truly lies within its borders. There are few from these parts who have ever dared to set foot inside that tangled swamp, but there is one. The magistrate thoughtfully strokes his pointed chin for a moment as he looks you over carefully. I'm not sure what a township of farmers can do to compensate such a heroic feat, but were it to succeed, he says. However, rest assured, Allison, that such a deed will not go unrewarded. The magistrate taps the hilt of his longsword and begins stroking his pointed chin. Old Man Trout, as we call him, is the last man living around this way that we know to have ever been inside the Murk, he says. He perhaps the closest thing Stormfield has to a hero, you might say. I would suggest you pay him a visit before you set foot in the swamp. His knowledge of that place could prove useful. You learn that Old Man Trout lives in the edge of the fort town, and the magistrate explains to you how to get there. When you don't visit the old Trout, stop back here, Allison, he said. I'll make sure you're outfitted with whatever you may need before you go. All right then, off you go. Off to Old Man Trout. There's no time to spare. Wow, okay. Old Man Trout lives just in the outskirts of Stormfield. Following the direction the magistrate has given you, it takes less than an hour to arrive at the small, ramshackle dwelling. An elderly gentleman whose sparse white hair is tied back in a long ponytail greets you at the door and gruffly asks your business. When you explain how it is that you came to seek him out and you are seeking information regarding the Murk as the meanest office, he invites you inside. Soften anyway. I'm a lovely lady called Allison. For the better part of the hour, over several mugs of strong palo, Old Man Trout tells you of his younger days as both a soldier in the Tissian army and a rather famous local adventurer. His demeanor becomes quite serious when he begins to speak of the Murk, and he adopts a cautionary tone. He tells you that he and two companions once ventured into the perilous swamps many years ago in search of the ancient temple that is said to lie in the heart of the mire. You learn that 3 men barely escaped the Murk with their lives. The swamp was crawling with Murkmen, he says. A look of disdain passes over his face. There are those folks who will say that the Murkmen are a myth, but I'm not among them. I've seen them with my own eyes. Okay. Old Man Trout explained that the Murkmen would rise to the ground and attack without warning. He and his 2 companions were ambushed 3 times in this manner before they were forced to flee the swamp, and none of them have ever returned. If you're going to head to that place, take care, he cautions. The ancient temple is there, mind you. That's a historical fact, but I've never seen it. I shouldn't think it would be easy to get to. My guess is that the temple is something to do with the Murkmen, though just what I can't say. Old Trout wanders into the fireplace and picks a wedge-shaped piece of bronze off the mantel. He turns around and hands you the curious item. Old Trout tells you that he and his companions were barely an hour inside the swamp when they encountered what he describes as a living statue. The statue came after them aggressively, and they were forced to engage in combat. When we finally beaten it, we found that among the rubble, said Old Man Trout, pointing to the sliver of bronze he handed you. Thank you. He tells you to keep the shard, although he says he's not entirely certain what purpose it could possibly serve. There's a sorcerer at work in that place. Man creatures rising up out of the swamp, statues moving about as if were alive. I can only guess that something powerful lurks therein. Perhaps you'll find out. Perhaps not. You bid Old Man Trout farewell as you leave his dwelling. He offers one final bit of advice on the Murk. He tells you that there was once a woman by the name of Ethel who lived in a small cabin at the edge of the swamp. She was called by some Ethel the Wise, but it was long thought that she dabbled in magic. She was the focus of many local legends, including some that maintained she was in league with the Murkmen, or perhaps even their creator. According to Old Man Trout, she reports to have frequently ventured into the Murk, though for what reason none can say. About a dozen years back, she just disappeared, said Old Man Trout. And I don't just mean her. She and her entire cabin vanished overnight. Most people think something crept out of the bog she always visited and dragged her into the Maya house and all. Still, every once in a while, someone around these spots claims to have seen her. Always about the swamp's edge. She's a strange old woman. If you should encounter her, you'd be wise to be cautious, very cautious. Thank Old Man Trout for the information and leave his dwelling. A little while later, you're back in the center of Stormfield. Alright, let's go back to the magistrate. When you step in the town hall, you're surprised to find the magistrate and 4 other grey-haired men awaiting your arrival. They smile upon seeing you, and the magistrate introduces the 4 men as Stonefield's Council of Elders. The Council of Elders have seen fit to equip our bold new hero with that which may help her on her task. As the magistrate reports the collection items and think what you will, Alice. Yeah, no. Your decision to enter the Murk is a brave one, and one of the people of Stormfield would applaud you for, said the magistrate. The magistrate tells you that he and the Council of Elders have chosen to keep your upcoming mission secret from the town's residents so that you will not encounter any interference. Well wishes and onlookers, though they might mean well enough, would only prove to hinder your task, said one of the elders. The magistrate explains to you how to get to the most accessible entrance to the Murk, and you listen carefully to the direction. He also tells you to use caution when entering the swamp. To maintain the secrecy of our mission, it would be best not to let others see you entering the Murk, he says. When at last you are prepared to leave the town hall, the magistrate and the 4 elders say a quick prayer over you as, again, the All Fathers guide and protect you on your path into peril. Report back to me as needed, said the magistrate as you leave the town hall. Good luck, Allison. My hopes and prayers go along with you. Thank you. As you step into the town hall, you tug on your sleeve and turn to find one of the town elders, a man by the name of Corinda, has followed you outside. The tall grey-haired man smiles warmly and pats you on the shoulder. Stormfield is a good town, Allison, full of good people, said Corinda, his voice thin and raspy. I've lived here my whole life, and I intend to die here. I wish we had a few like yourself back in the old days, when the town faced goblin raids and the like, but no matter. Your time is now, and the people of this town, though they do not know it yet, are grateful to you. People like you, throughout the ages, have always held back the vile means of darkness, allowing simple and good people to live simple and good lives. I thank you, Allison. I do hope you do not come to any sort of nasty end in that place. You wouldn't be the first. You're momentarily puzzled by the elder's last sentence, but you manage to thank Corinda for his thoughtful words and bow graciously before bidding him farewell and continue on your way. Bye. Oh, we get to the Murk. Okay. Yeah, we got time. Move to the Murk. You're sending the outskirts of the town of Stormfield on the edge of the vast tangled swamp known as the Murk. Twisted moss-covered trees rise up from the pools of dark, stagnant water. Let's go. You take one look around before stepping into the dense tangle of perilous bog. I'm in. You're standing just inside the edge of the tangle. Oh, okay. You spot a set of human footprints leading south. Right, sure, let's go south. Okay, it says east now. South, east, south, west. It's a Murkmen. You freeze in your tracks to the ground before you begin to ride in the bubble. You watch in horrors of thick humanoid forms rush for the mire, your feet blocking your path. The horrific creature stretches open and a gaping mouth and bellows into the air as two cruel eyes swing open amidst the swarm of ooze that drips from his head. You now face one of the legendary Murkmen of the Murk. Great combat. Bye. Sure, give me the longsword. The Murkmen explodes, splattering with a shower of lukewarm mud and ooze. Ill. Quickly wipe away the fat layer of muck that obscures your vision, and behold a curious sight. Laying on the ground where the Murkmen once stood are the skeletal remains of a human, mingled in the badly singed bones of the following. You spend the next few moments wrapping the foul-smelling ooze from your face and clothing for you. Listen, why is everywhere around here smell? Alright, you're amidst the tangled miners of Murk. Alright, we're going south, because there's footprints to the south. Alright, we spot human footprints that are heading north. You come to a small hut built out of dark, wet timber and thick slabs of damp earth. The odd dwelling sits perched on the top of a sizable mound of dry ground that rises out of the swamp. You can see a thin trail of grey smoke rising from the circular hole cut into the roof. The wood door is slightly ajar. Let's go. Despite the fire that rose inside the center circle of stones in the middle of the floor, it is nearly pitch black inside the small hut. Your senses are overwhelmed by the combined odor of musty earth and wood smoke. A bright flash of blue light suddenly fills the small interior, blinding it in its brilliance. The light quickly subsides, leaving the room bathed in an eerie blue glow. Seated on a chair next to the fire is a woman garbed in a tattered brown robe. The hood of her robe conceals most of her face. The old woman raises her head and smiles at you. You are somewhat taken back and notice an ornate tattoo of a spider splayed across her forehead. "Hello, Allison," said the old woman, her voice strangely melodic and her smile growing broader. "What is it that you seek from Ethel the Wise?" "How do you know my name? There's little that goes in the world that does not come under my scrutiny," said the old woman. "I am Ethel, known to some as the Wise, although I gather the name stirs few recollections these days." Ethel gazes directly at your eyes, and you find yourself unable to look away from her piercing stare. "Hey, let's talk." Ethel's melodic voice floats throughout the small hut as she speaks in rather cryptic terms about the Murk, revealing very little about herself in the process. Suddenly, the old woman makes mention of something that earns your full attention. "You've no doubt heard the legends of the ancient temple at the center of the swamp," She said, "It fell into ruin many centuries ago. Most of it has been swallowed by the swamp, yet about it there yet dwells a wickedness that grows with each passing day. For the spirit of Tepthog is still strong there, and his minions gather strength." Who is Tepthog? Listen to Ethel's tale. You learn that Tepthog was a powerful malevolent spirit, a demonic servant of Jelurith that was worshipped by the ancient and cruel race of men known as Golod, that once roamed the North Broadlands during the Age of Storms. Tepthog, as many of the ancient world's powerful spirits, faded in the shadows as the Age of Araludon dawned. Jeez! The spirit has not vanished. The spirit is here in this very mind that surrounds us, and even now I feel its presence as Tepthog strives to again take form in the world. What are Jorlith? Is a dark god of enduring evil. Though some question the existence of this deity, he is worshipped by a religion known as the Korund. Some believe that Jorlith is one of the more powerful demon lords who directly serves the great demon Ichthion. Ichthion is the name of a powerful demon lord of the netherrealm of Onyxus. Sryth's second great age was named after the demon lord, the Age of Ichthion, and for it marked Ichthion's attempt to invade and conquer the world. Ichthion is said to be one of the 7 great demon lords that inhabit netherrealm of Onyxus. Wow, no thanks. Ethel tells you that the infamous Murkmen of the Murk, who have become local legend in and around Stormfield over the years, are in fact the spirit of long dead Golod, who once worshipped Tepthog at the temple in the heart of the swamp. Tepthog certainly knows you are here, cautioned Ethel, for the vile spirit is the very essence of the swamp, and lurking in dark waters are his cruel minions lying in wait, preparing to do his dark bidding. Ethel grows quiet. though you feel certain that she's still studying you intently from beneath the hood that obscures most of her face. Teptog's Murkmen already pressed the boundaries of the mire, cautions Ethel, her tongue grave. They now roam the dry woodlands near Stormfield in the dead of night, and they grow bolder at each passing day. For the good of this world, the foul spirit of Teptog must not be allowed to take form. It would be disastrous. She keeps studying me carefully. What's up? As it is now, I fear the time may not be far off when an invasion will creep forth from the heart of this swamp. An army of wicked beasts prepared to do a bidding of its cruel and powerful master. The means of the wicked spirit are numerous indeed, said Ethel, and they are not all Murkmen or creatures of the swamp, to be sure. Now that there are those who walk in the world of living men who would also have the evil of Teptog again take form. Ethel is silent for a few moments, and you sense that she's lost in deep thought. At last she speaks again. My time here grows short, Allison, and though I both feared it and must trust it beyond the borders of the swamp, long has my own magic helped to contain the menace that seeks to creep forward from this mire. Yet my power in this world wanes. Even as Teptog's spirit is renewed, I fear the containment of this menace will only serve to delay the inevitable horror that should never come to be. The center of Teptog's power and place where his spirit will attempt to take form a ruined temple in the heart of the swamp, she says. But know that should you seek this place, you'll find it guarded by a fearsome creature of shadow, another world protector of Teptog. But there is yet hope. Ethel waves her left hand toward the fire, and flames momently take a brilliant shade of green. Seek out and defeat the mythical stone guardians that roam this mire, and bring to me the 7 bronze shards that they carry. From these shards I will create for your key that will lock a weapon capable of defeating the temple guardian. You must hurry, though, for time may no longer be an ally, and take great care. There are those who tread the paths of this swamp, those who wish to see foul spirit take form in this world again, and I felt their presence. Ethel's voice trails away, and she sinks back into a wooden chair. Can I learn some magic? Despite the fire, it still plays back. Seated in a chair next to the fire is a woman who calls herself Ethel the Wise. She raises her head and smiles at you, somewhat taken back to notice the ornate tattoo of a spider. Hello again, Allison. What in the name of Elder Spirit can Ethel do to the Wise do for you? Perhaps you seek instruction in magic? Yes, indeed I do. You seek power, Allison, she says, a hint of hesitation creeping in her strangely melodic voice. Know that its use must always be tempered with wisdom. A fool does not possess power, the power possesses the fool. Ethel rises from a chair and assumes her full height. The fire within the circle of stone roars with increased intensity, and she extends both hands towards her palm turn it bright. Take my hands, Allison. Sure. The moment your fingers come in contact with Ethel's flesh, an intense surge of energy begins coursing through you. Your body stiffens as Ethel's hand clamps down upon your own. Your vision begins to blur and then fades as a series of powerful sensations threaten to overtake your senses. Ethel laughs, her voice no longer melodic, but instead shrill and cold. You near collapse when suddenly the sensation begins to reside, and several seconds later you have disappeared completely. They have disappeared completely. Ethel smiles and lets go of your hand. You're indeed ready, she says, her voice once again melodic. Let us begin our training at once, if you so desire. Ethel the Wise is indeed a master of omnivoral magic. She is able to train you in one of the spheres of magic listed below. Elementalism! Weak. There, in the power you've acquired, serve you faithfully, said Ethel, as she once again takes her place in the chair next to the fire. Thanks, my guy. Alright, let's see what's up here before we leave. Nothing. So I gotta get the 7 stone shards. I have 1. But I'm gonna leave and train this power, because I fear I might need it here. Rah. North. Bro, let's just press it over here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, good. Go back to Stormfield. Travel to Hawklaw. It's the nearest place by. Get the power from my get the experience from my elementalism. Be down to 4 things. And then we'll train that up. Elementalism, that's up top. And we're at level 1, bruh. So we'll be at level 76. One fine day when the wolf met a purr, baby was born in Cosmo's turn. No green-eyed frogs. Look cat dog, cat dog. Cat dog. Lonely words, look cat dog. I don't know the lyrics. I never watched that show. I watched this show. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 yeah, if you know it, I'll send you $50. 26. Alright, let's hit it back to Stormfield. And back to the merch. The Merc. Alright, let's go south. Not where she is, just south. Because last time I didn't go south, stuff happened. So she's in there, so I'm not going back in there. So now I'm gonna go north. Stump turtle. Suddenly, a medium-sized stump turtle hauls itself directly into your path. You're following bulky stump-shaped shell standing nearly 2 feet off its back. The powerful reptile is over 4 feet long. The turtle turns its head in your direction, snaps its sharp beak several times, perhaps as a warning to you. Kill it. It's just an animal. Poor thing. Let's see. For me, moments following your victory, and we keep going. Alright, I'm going all the way north. Now. I'm going south. No, this way. North. Oh. Suddenly you realize it jumps a 2-foot, 12-legged insect. Insects are 6-legged, so it's not an insect. Making its way along the ground in your direction. The insect has a broad, flat head and a raised tail at the tip of which is a nasty-looking stinger. It sounds like a scorpion. You instantly recognize the creature as a gray stinger. A single sting from one of these insects carries enough venom to paralyze a forest troll. The gray stinger begins moving towards you at a rapid pace, and you hurriedly prepare to defend yourself. Wow, that thing stung me. Rude. Okay, we're going north. Yes, we're going north to this corner. A massive statue rises out of the swamp. Its form vaguely human, although it's riddled with large cracks and covered with vines and moss. The statue rises at least 12 feet above the surface of the mire, and despite being buried up to its waist in mud canoes, likeness of a serpent and a flame have been carved into its chest. The sudden sound of the stone grating upon stone startles you as the massive statue slowly turns its head to your direction. With deep-set eyes, a strange creation stares down at you. Let's talk. The statue continues to stare down at you as you attempt to converse with it. Suddenly, several of the stones that make of its lower face slap back and forth, revealing a gaping mouth. Rumbling voices, you step back, will rise again. Leave this place will perish. Attack! See, we can always talk first. What's wrong with talking? A deafening crack sounds following the deep rumble signals the defeat of the massive stone guardian. The magical stone creation shudders and crumbles. A weighty chunk of rubble tumbles into the surrounding swamp. When the being is no more, you move over and closely examine its remains. You're surprised to recover it appears to be a wedge-shaped shard of bronze disc. Based on the size of the piece, you realize it would take 7 of these shards to complete and stretch the entire disc. We already know that because we talked to the lady. Now pay attention. Keep up. Not the Murkmen. There's 3 of them. Now you keep your stuff. Swarm of black wasps. A loud droning buzz fills the air as a swarm of black-bodied wasps descends out of the sky straight towards you. Before you had a chance to react, the cloud of stinging insects has nearly enveloped you. How do you fight wasps? Are they huge? I don't know. Here's what it is. Alright, let's stay north first. I mean, we just gotta explore every single aspect of this. I want every single piece of you. Your heavens and your oceans too. Baby, don't let the lights go down, lights go down. Baby, don't let the lights go down. Down. Tentacled horror. This one, the right of the path comes to life at a fury of activity, and before you can fully react to what's happening, a long green tentacle erupts from the murky water and wraps itself around your leg. As you struggle to free yourself from the grasp of your emerged attacker, another tentacle shoots out of the water and wraps tightly around your waist. The tentacles of this unseen creature grip you with crushing force. Horror overcomes you as you realize you must either break free or be squeezed to death. Attack! The tentacles are unseen. The attacker slips slightly beneath the dark water of the swamp. Waste little time moving away from the site of the attack, lest the owner of the tentacles decide to give you a second thought. Winded, but thanks to survive such dangerous encounter, you once again set off through the swamp. Yes. Another stump turtle. Attack. Yeah, if I read it, I'm not gonna read it again. More Murkmen. No, I don't want any of your junk. Okay, this is just back to her, so I'm not going that way. Saw you yesterday with no friend. Hey, it's a statue. Bruh, attack. They just show up sporadically. The rest of the time now was the same old same. How have you been? That's why I'm just trying to explore every section of this map, because I'll just run into these stone statue people. They're not in specific locations. Since you've been gone, my world's been dark and gray. Marauder lizard. Takes the presence of 4-foot-long gray and green striped lizard leaps out of the undergrowth and attacks. You recognize the markings of this belligerent reptile to be one of the marauder lizards. You step back and prepare to defend yourself against this carnivorous lizard attack. Okay, marauder lizard is both carnivorous and aggressively territorial, which is not a good mix as you meet one in the wild. The savage creature has been known to be tamed by cave goblins, be used as an instrument of war and intimidation. Interesting. God rest ye very gentlemen, nothing we dismay. Christ our Savior, born on Christmas Day. Not really, but you know, whatever. It's just another exit. The dense foliage of the swamp suddenly parts, and you can clearly see a broad path heading east into the bright sunlight. It appears as though you've come upon a way out of this perilous quagmire. I appreciate there being exits in multiple locations. Keep going. Keep smiling, knowing that I'll always count on you. Pretty sure. A vague, unsettling feeling comes over you straight through this portion of the swamp. Why? Not because of a gray stinger, that's for sure, and certain. Yes, Murkmen, gotcha. No, I don't want this junk. I took one. More wolves. I'll tell you. Did I die? They died. unsettling here. Okay, we're not going up there yet, so let's just leave. I think that's where I have to go at the end. It's still unsettling in this part of the swamp. Or Murkmen. I should use one of my chemic leaves. 8. All it does is 8. Massive swamp troll. Sound of heavy, ragged breathing approaches you from behind, causes you to spin around, prepared to defend yourself. Lopping along the narrow trail behind you is a half-rotted form of a massive swamp troll. The massive, hideous, 8-foot-tall, half-rotted humanoid appears to be following your scent. Upon catching sight of you, it raises it to its full fearsome height and issues a guttural snarl. The swamp troll extends a long, stone-like claws from the end of its bony fingers and rushes you. Until it's death, which it is. There's a whole section down here I haven't been to yet. Yes, Murkmen, I gotcha. Masterful slash is right. And if it's not right, you gotta put it right. Nobody else is gonna put it right for me. Nobody but me is gonna change my story. Sometimes you have to be that little bit naughty. Getting real tired. It's 1 o'clock here. Right about now. Alright, let's use the power of restoration, please and thank you. Healing to full, yes sirree. This place is huge. I've not been in here? Okay, let's go this way. Nothing. Down. The ground feels firmer underfoot in this section of the swamp. Interesting. Why? Guess it's not as swampy here. In the Murkmen. You're standing in a large grassy clearing in the midst of the swamp. The ground is much firmer here. 3 towering hardwoods, an oak, an ash, and a maple, dominate the center of the clearing and stretch far above the surrounding swamp. The trees, which seem particularly healthy despite their surroundings, seem quite out of place in this type of environment. Examine the trees. There's is a disc-shaped impression. So this is where I bring the disc to get my special weapon. Another exit out of the swamp. It was interesting. It's pretty much just waiting for random encounters with statues. Like this. I'm like, how many do I have? Just look. 5. I need 7. So 2 more. I feel like there's still 2 places I haven't been yet. Or a couple squares I haven't done yet. But it looks like I've done it all. Finally, for this one night, I'm about to have a fun night. Some munchkin boy calling a trosk. You're passing near a deep channel when you suddenly a large swirl beneath the surface of the water catches your eye. Before you can properly react, a massive snake-like head of a long green serpent erupts from the dark water, sounding an ear-shattering roar. The serpent's horned head continues to rise above the surface of the water until it towers nearly 10 feet above you. Your heart skips nearly 3 beats as you struggle to come to grips with the terror now facing you. There is little doubt that the cruel yellow eyes now focused on you are those of a trosk, powerful amphibious swampland menace. The trosk emits a series of thunderous roars and as it dives at you, a mouthful of razor-sharp fangs. No, he dead. You leap to the side to avoid being crushed by the towering corpse of the trosk as its teeth and comes crashing down the very spot on which you stood. Only seconds before you move upon examining the remains of the dead serpent, take a great satisfaction in your victory over such. And then we use woodmanship to get some stuff off of the trosk's horns. Quite valuable throughout the realms. So readjust my armor and head back into the wood. Into the unknown. Yes, I've fallen asleep. Can you wondering? Yeah, we still have 2 more shards I need. Okay, not going to that dead end. Let's go back towards old girl, and then we'll just walk around by old girl till we find these fools. 6 Murkmen. I don't want your junk. I get this fear down in my bone. Swamp trolls. Yep, nice. discover her area. This is the last time I left the swamp. Guess this is gonna be long ep, you guys. Yeah, at a certain time my eyes just close and I can't control it, so I'm trying to finish this before that. Yay! Attack. One more. You want all my love and my devotion. You want right on the line. I love you forever. The only trouble is I really don't have the time. Yes. It feels like your singing is horrible. Alright, so now we can go back to my girl. I did not need to go in here. It's not for nothing. What? I was like, I already have all the shards. You're just coming up on me for no reason now. I guess that's how it lets you know you're done. If you weren't paying attention, or the things that you need 7. Can I fast travel to you next time? Now solemnly points a bony finger to the roaring fire inside the ring of stones. Place the shards in the fire. You do as she instructed, and the moment the shards have been dropped into the circle of stone, the fire begins to burn at renewed intensity. Ethel rises with the scrimmage and faces the fire. Without hesitation, leans over and reaches into the flame. Around retreats the blaze, showing no signs of burns in her hand. In her hand is a small, fully formed bronze disc. She then turns her hands back to you. You examine the round disc and discover the 7 shards you collected now make up a flat sleeveless disc you hold in your hand. You hold in your hand the key to unlock a great weapon, a weapon capable of defeating the fearsome creature that guards the ruined temple of the Hollow Swamp, the last holder of the swamp and its minions. You ask Ethel about where to find the weapon. She spoke up and what it looked like. You must travel to the east to the swamp, and then a bit to the north. It is far from here, but you'll find it. When the ground feels firmer beneath your feet, the weapon rests in places close at hand. Ethel retakes the seat next to the fire and said as you carefully, "Take great care as you go," she said gravely. "I have once again sensed the presence of others in the swamp, the wickedness of their spirits are not easily concealable. May the other spirits watch over you, Allison." She falls back silent, bids you farewell before leaving the hut. Continue on my way. Alright. Yes, the Murkmen are after me because I'm ever so closer to finishing this quest. Something heavy lands on your back, pitching your face forward in the muck and oozing at your feet. You manage to scramble and gain your footing, only to find a large silver constrictor has dropped on you from an overhanging tree limb. Attack! How dare you touch me? I swear to get it. The Murkmen are everywhere. Skin it. Did you see him in the middle of something? They're getting aggressive. Yay! Rejuvenation is the sheep. Okay, here's where we're going, right up here. Okay, Murkmen, got it. This way. God. Examine the trees. Items. Brown items. Brownish disc. Use it. Then we're talking about in a certain order. You feel the bronze distance, the impression of the trunk and the ash tree. Almost immediately, the ground begins to shake ever so slightly. Several seconds of shaking slightly, remove the disc. Same. You leap backwards to the tree. Trunk of all the trees begin to shudder violently with a deafening rumble. The ground opens at the base of the hardwoods, and towering trees begin to sink in the earth. Watching the base of it as the massive hardwoods are rapidly swallowed up, and the open gash in the earth rumbles shut after the tip of the last tree disappears from view. Only moments later, the trace of the three trees remain. Lying in the middle of the clearing of the tree once stood is a staff. The weapon has roughly hewn wooden shaft and a tip of a sharpened stone. It appears to be quite unremarkable. You decide to take the staff. Yes, I need it to fight the evil. The evil? Yeah, the evil. What you know about evil? More than you know about it. You know what I know about evil. And elementals now. Bringing out the big guns. You turn a bit into a narrow trail you're following out. Happen upon a curious scene. Racing out in the middle of the shallow pool of dark waters and upper touch of blood water elemental. The mystical creature goes entirely water, whose form is vaguely human, does not seem to have noticed you. Speak. Let's talk. The water means go as quickly as you can. The being of this mire, do not take kindly to the intrusive man. The dead Teptog is near. What do you know about him? Seek out the ruined temple to the hottest place if you've been planning to Pog and his minions. But be warned that to do so will certainly mean death. You must leave this place now. I'm not going to be leaving now, but thank you so much for your concern and consideration. Okay, that's where I'm going. Pretty sure. Ah! Yes, harvest the junk. We're here in the heart. It is a save point. Very nice. Oh, we're almost an hour. We gotta finish this. Standing at the edge of a wide, dark pool. The surface of the pool ripples and bubbles as if many living creatures are continuously disturbing the water below. In the middle of the pool, about 100 yards from where you are now, a large island of dark gray rock rises out of the water. The surface of the island is covered with large boulders and thick patches of stunted trees. The narrow stone bridge is quite in an advanced state of disrepair, spans a dark pool. Let's go. You made it nearly halfway across the narrow stone bridge when the surface of the pool to your right suddenly explodes, covering you with a shower of muck and stagnant water. No shattering screech piercing the air is something long and dark rising out of the water. Rising out of the swamp to the right of the bridge, it's the head and elongated neck of a gigantic black-scaled serpent. The serpent rises to its full height, nearly 20 feet above the surface of the water, and opens wide, a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. The gargantuan beast emits an earth-shattering shriek that reverberates throughout the swamp. The creature's large eyes spring open, revealing the red orbs of the flame that narrow cruelly as they settle upon you. The serpent's head sways from side to side rhythmically as a long black forked tongue flickers in and out of its mouth. You suddenly realize that you can see right through this creature. The serpent appears to be a massive shadow. It's difficult to break the creature's hypnotic stare, and without warning, a massive head plunges down towards you, his jaws gaping wide, ready to strike. Provocation. You hastily summon a defense to block the lunging shadow serpent. A shimmering curtain of heavy silver chains materialized and hover the air before you, several feet in front of your face. The links begin to glow, bright green, and you brace for impact at the massive serpent's head screaming towards you in collision course. You pray that your summon defenses hold. The tremendous jolt knocks you off your feet, and the bridge shudders as the shadow serpent slams into your magical barrier. The serpent recoils from the impact and shock and emits a painful, angry shriek. Its massive head sways back and forth only a few feet in front of the shimmering golden curtain. Suddenly the curtain vanishes, leaving you exposed to the fearsome creature. You quickly realize this may be the opportunity to cease here while the serpent is still stunned. Before the terrifying serpent has a chance to regain its senses, you launch your attack. Because it's stunned, the shadow serpent will have its melee rate reduced for the first 2 rounds of combat. Quick combat. Okay. Pen is not active. Yeah, I win. The shadow serpent stretches its mouth wide open and emits a long, desolate wail. Its entire body shimmers briefly and then vanishes, leaving behind no trace of its existence. You pause momentarily to reflect upon the enormity of the victory before continuing across the bridge to the island. Before we do that, we need to use restoration. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's go. The ground here is much firmer underfoot than the boggy terrain you've become accustomed to throughout the rest of the swamp, and the surface of the island is littered with large boulders and thick patches of stunted trees. You discover a narrow path leading south to the patch of the forest and move cautiously along it. The ground continues to rise as the path winds its way into the island's interior, and you soon find yourself navigating a rather steep incline. You stop to catch a quick breath. After climbing a particularly treacherous portion of the path, and are just about to continue when a faint, eerie sound rises up through the trees ahead. It is the sound of several voices chanting. You listen to the eerie chanting for several minutes and determine that the source must lie in a good distance to the south. Eager to identify the source of the haunting sound might be, you resume your climb up to the narrow path. Your senses alert of any sign of danger in the surrounding forests. The chanting grows louder as you move further into the island's interior and find that any moment you stumble upon, and you feel that any moment you'll stumble upon its source. As you reach the top of the small boulder-strewn hillside, you suddenly freeze in your tracks. Your eyes fall upon a nervy scene in the forest clearing below. In the grassy clearing, the base of the hill has a cracked and vine-entangled ruins of an ancient temple, and the ground looks swampy throughout the clearing, and indeed it appears that much of the ruined structure has been swallowed up by the mire. Chanting rises up from the clearing, your eyes are drawn to the source of a haunting sound. 3 black-robed hooded figures stand around a wide ring of raised stones. Inside the ring of stones, a pool of dark water roils and churns. An uneasy feeling come over you as you recognize the black-robed figures as Quran, members of the evil religious order devoted to worship the dark god Jolorith. The 3 figures raise their arms to the sky in unison, and their chanting grows in pitch and intensity. Rise, from your eternal prison, servant of Jolorith. intones one of the Karun, his voice deep monotone. Tim Tog, we summon thee. Your path to this world is clear, servant of Jolaroth. Come forth and raise the army of our master's desires. Pools of water around the Karuns begins to stop roil and bubble with increased fervor. You watching horrors the surface of water rise, something is emerging from the pool. The Karun continue to chant. The dark, slimy, worm-like shape begins to emerge from the roiling pool inside the ring of stones. You realize that whatever evil ceremony these Karun have performed, he is the final stages that the spirit of Tepthog is now attempting to take form in the world before your very eyes. I'm gonna say archery. I instantly recognize the danger Tepthog will pose if he is allowed to take form and raise an entire army of Murkmen. You must quickly find a way to disrupt the ceremony. Archery. Your arrow hits his mark with expert precision. The Karun staggers about for a few seconds and then collapses, your feathered shaft buried deep in his chest. You are now alerted to your presence. Remaining two Karun turn to face you. They draw long, curved knives from beneath their robes and charge the hillside toward you. You still yourself to meet their attack. Quick attack. You quickly step over the bloody corpse of the Karun and make your way down the hill towards the dark pool. Keeping your eyes on the massive like creature continues to emerge from it. Tepthog continues to emerge from the roiling pool of dark water. Two bulbous, grassy black eyes begin to protrude through the putrid jelly-like slime that indicates his body. The reborn spirit of Tepthog stretches wide, perfectly circular mouth ringed with several rows of razor-sharp teeth, and roars. As if to answer the mighty roar, the soft ground in the clearing begins to quiver and undulate as hundreds of Murkmen begin to rise from the earth. The long-dead Golod, who once served Tepthog at the side of the ancient temple, have awakened to heed the call of their risen master. You realize you must deal with Tepthog here now before you are completely merged in the pool of his wicked army is fully risen. Use the gnarled wood staff. Begins to quiver and grows warm to the touch. You quickly draw it out and hold it for you. Tepthog grows before catching sight of the staff, but can sense fear creeping into the gutter voice of the reborn spirit. With his large, bulbous eyes fixed solely on the gnarled wooden staff, you begin a slow retreat back to the dark pool from whence you came. You boldly step forward, keeping the staff between you and the spirit, retreating from night forward. Tepthog rose again for the final time before the last of him disappears in the bubbling black pool. Simultaneous with the retreat of their master, hundreds of Murkmen rising from the soft earth of the clearing begin sinking back to the earth in a matter of seconds. The rising army of Murkmen have despicably rushed over to the ring of stones and gaze into the pool. Beneath the surface of the bubbling black water, you see Tepthog's form growing smaller and smaller as it retreats in the seemingly bottom pool. At length, the surface of the water grows calm, and you no longer see any sign of the risen spirit in the depths of the pool. Gating. There's a blind flash in a distant room where you channel your power of gating and use it to close a portal through which Tepthog emerged. In a matter of seconds, the dark water inside the ring of stones has disappeared, leaving only bare earth in its wake. It's as if the pool never existed. So your actions have served to forever close a portal that the Karun had opened to allow the spirit of Tepthog to take form in this world. The vile Tepthog servants of the dark god Jolaroth will never again be able to use the gates into the world, into Sryth. That's right! The unmistakable sound of the foot falling on the soft earth reaches your ears, and you instinctively spin around, ready to defend yourself. Less than 20 yards from you stands a tall, black-robed figure whose face is concealed in the shadow cast by the oversized hood. The figure leans in the tall wooden staff and seems to regard you with a good deal of caution. You realize this is another Karun, and your eyes quickly scout the edge of the clearing in the temple room in case there's other of his ilk lying in wait. After a moment silent, the figure speaks in a thin, raspy, masculine voice that's eerily familiar. Well met again, Allison. The Karun throws back its hood, and you're aghast to find that you're staring in the eyes of Corinda, the town elder of Stormfield. Why does everybody have a backstabbing elder or advisor? We should look before you begin your mission. The tall, gray-haired man smiles at you warmly and bows deeply. I never expected you to say the course to this point, he said, the raspy voice gradually changing into a grim monotone. Nevertheless, you made an enemy today, Allison, the one true god of Jolaroth, for it is his servant who you cast back to the gate, and it is upon you that his faithful will exact the revenge. Waking at Corin, the raven's right hand over his head and disappears. A thick swarm of black flies raises from the ground, and when she slid and buzzes off into the swamp. Still reeling from the unexpected encounter, you nearly leap out of your skin when a soft voice behind you whispers your name. Turn around to face the source of the voice, half expecting to find another black-robed Corin, but the sight that greets you Your eyes is entirely unexpected. Seated in the mossy remains of the fallen temple column is a beautiful young silver-haired woman clad in flowing silver robes. A young woman smiles at you and waves. No doubt I appear very different to you than I did in the last meeting, she says. Suddenly, a strange feeling washes over you. You realize that the young woman seated in the column is Ethel the Wise. Your victory is complete, said Ethel, smiling. Tephog has been 9 ages into this world, and I dare say another age will have long since dawned before the foul spirit will have rekindled itself sufficiently to leave its natural home. People of Stormfield needs Sryth need not fear Tephog or Murkmen any longer. Ethel slides off the column and lands nimbly on her bare feet. Ethel holds out her right hand, and unseen force tears the gnarled wooden staff from your grasp. The staff flies to Ethel's open hand. Ethel mutters a few words you cannot comprehend, and the staff in her head suddenly transforms into a long green snake. The snake slips out of Ethel's grasp and starts slithering away. Just as the lengthy serpent reaches the edge of the clearing, it turns and gazes you for a moment before disappearing into the undergrowth. What did you just do? The swamp will begin to heal itself in the absence of Tephog and his minions, said Ethel. So we dare not tarry here in this place of evil longer than necessary. However, Alison, there is something I would bestow upon you in your parting. Ethel sweeps her hand towards the ground, and your eyes follow the gesture. You shocked to discover 7 objects lying on the ground. The 7 had himself from the realm of storms, she said, stepping back and motioning you to approach the objects. I would not wish to visit the Neverall realm upon anyone, even a hero of your ability. They offer you one of these in the hope that you will serve you well. Each crafted countless ages ago in the dark realm, the heroes long since departed. Choose wisely, Alison. You move forward and examine the 7 objects lying on the ground. You may take only one of the items, so choose carefully. Okay, what do I have in my head again? I have the Master's Cowl, which is 9, 6, 5, and 2. Yeah, that's trash. Amulet of Storms for the neck. That's the neck, not the top. Yeah, no, I don't need anything. Staff, mace, dagger, a sword. Sword is a slashing weapon. I don't want any of this. But you go ahead and give me the amulet. The ground begins to quiver and shake, and a low rumble rises from the depths of the earth. Ethel mutters several words and reaches out as if offering her hand to you. The healing of the place has already begun, she said ominously. Let us now depart, Alison. There is not a moment to lose. Take my hand. So you suddenly come to the realization the entire island is sinking in the swamp. Take her hand. The moment you take Ethel's hand, you feel your feet lift off the ground. You watch in amazement. You float upward off the island and above the swamp. In a matter of minutes, you're soaring high above the murk in a bright mid-morning sky, and your hand clasped tightly to Ethel's. When you look down at the mire far below, you can no longer see any sign of the island where Tephog's ruined temple stood. A short while later, the flight is ended as Ethel set you down the outskirts of Stormfield, from the spot where you entered the murk. Go now, Alison, she said, releasing your grip in your hand. It is unlikely we shall ever meet again, for mine is a fleeting existence. Even now I find myself called elsewhere. Farewell, and may the elder spirits watch over you. You hastily bid Ethel the Wise farewell, and in return, as she rapidly fades from the view behind a shimmering curtain of silver sparkles, seconds later she is gone, and you find yourself standing alone in the edge of the murk. Without delay, you make your way back to Stormfield and report immediately to the magistrate. No, don't report immediately. The magistrate is overjoyed to learn of your success, and immediately calls for the convening of the town elders in the quarter. Suddenly his face saddened, and his tone turned grave. You tell them a bit of sad news concerning the town elder Corinda. Hasn't been seen for days, he said, shaking his head, sighing mournfully. Another victim of the Murkmen, I should wonder. Though with your victory, I would pray he is the last. The magistrate eyes widen in shock and disbelief when you recount details of your recent encounter with Corinda in the temple ruins. He shakes his head and curses under his breath. This is grim news indeed, he said. If the contemptible likes of Corinda walk among us as our own, how shall we ever find peace? The town elders arrive and their faces immediately light up when the success of your mission is announced. They rush over to congratulate you. You're wondering why the magistrate has not chosen to mention your encounter with Corinda, when suddenly your attention shifts to us, where the magistrate produces a small iron baton, wooden chest, and hands it and places it in the room-alone table. Gold is hardly a reward fit to saving our town. Yet it is what we must offer you as compensation, he said. The chest contains large amounts of gold, which the town leader and magistrate Vehemently insisted you accept. When you collect your reward, the magistrate pulls you aside and speaks to you alone. You told me about Corinda is the secret best kept between us for now, said the magistrate, his voice barely a bubble. As we trusted Corinda, for we had known him all our lives, yet your news has made me rethink a few things. Perhaps someday I will need your help again. I hope I can count on you among my friends, Allison. Of course. Of course we're friends. I saved you and I saved your town. We're friends. It does not take long for the word of your mission success to spread throughout Stormfield, and within hours a large feast is in plan in which you are seated next to the magistrate and guests upon him. Before the feast commences, the magistrate offers a moment of silent prayer and reflection for the missing town, Ella Corinda. You and the magistrate quickly exchange knowing glances. Congratulations, Allison, for having successfully saved the town of Stormfield from the menace of the Murk. You've earned an experience bonus. After the feast, you stay in Stormfield for a few days as a guest of the magistrate before deciding that it's time for you to be on your way. During these first few days, you witnessed the town undergo miraculous transformation. The shops that were closed due to the menace of the Murkmen are reopened. The marketplaces again a bustling center of commerce. The citizens of Stormfield now move about the town without fear of the wicked beings that once crept out of the Murk. Yay! That's it, you guys. So next time, we do adventures for this location and journey into the Murk. That'll get me the last power besides mass shadow magic, which is destruction. So I will do that next time. So I'm going to save now, and this is a long one. I apologize for that. I want to finish it in this episode though. So until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Peace. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.